In this episode of the Project Management Podcast, we learn that PMI's new brand is about substantially more than just a new and very cool logo. Hello and welcome back to the Project Management Podcast at pm-podcast.com. I am Cornelius Fichtner. We are coming to you live from the hallways here at the 2019 PMI Global Conference in Philadelphia. And with me right now, sitting at a lovely little coffee table, is Cindy Anderson. Good morning, Cindy.
Hey, good morning, Cornelius.
How are you doing? How's the conference going for you?
Oh my gosh, it is amazing. This is our 50th year, as I'm sure that your listeners know. And we have had a great time celebrating the past of PMI, 50 years history, and also looking forward to the next 50 years and starting the future. So it's day one for PMI today.
What is your role within PMI?
Sure. I am the Vice President of Brand Management, so I lead the brand team, which is responsible for the topic we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure many people will already have seen the new logo, and if you haven't seen it yet, just visit pmi.org and the new logo is there. But let's begin a little bit higher up here. Why is PMI undertaking a brand refresh?
Well, I'm glad you asked that to start this conversation, Cornelius, because many people find that the logo is a company's brand, and it's part of it, but it certainly is not all of it. And if we think back a little bit to the founding of PMI 50 years ago, Jim Snyder, who is the founder of PMI, will tell you that he was talking with his colleagues about the way work was changing, about the new tools and processes that were being used. And I don't know if you know this, but we were almost called the American Planning and Scheduling Society. But when Jim looked at the broader picture of the way that work was changing, he and his colleagues said, we should just name this organization what it's going to be, even if it isn't that yet. So they had an incredible foresight, an incredible vision of what the future of work might look like. And they took that opportunity. We feel like we're in the same position today. We see that the way work is changing, the way work gets done is changing, the skills and capabilities and the knowledge that project managers have to have is expanding and broadening in ways that we couldn't even have imagined 50 years ago. So what we wanted to do was carry on our founder's vision and foresight and really look forward and say, how can we best prepare PMI to represent the vast group of stakeholders that count on us to deliver for them and to help their organizations understand the value of project management? How could we create an identity, a visual expression, a position, a personality that would encompass all of those new ways of working, all of the generations that are now in the workforce, and really look forward to the next half century of PMI?
Mm-hmm. Powering the project economy. It is front center of pmi.org. Is that where we now stand?
That is where we now stand. So PMI powers the project economy. And we believe that that's relevant for our entire stakeholder base because, as I mentioned, the way that we work is changing. We're incorporating artificial intelligence and big data into everything that we do. Humans and machines are working together in so many different ways, whether it's just data augmentation or whether there actually are actual computers and machines working alongside people. Quantum computing is becoming a real thing, and that requires a real difference in the way that project managers do their work and the way that organizations organize to be able to take advantage of opportunities in the market. So when we think of things like the gig economy, we've all heard of the gig economy, right? Which is all of these young millennials that are out there going job to job to job because they don't want to have a career, or our society isn't set up for people to have long careers anymore. We think that that's just part of a much broader conversation that we call the project economy. And we think that because, and we'll talk a little bit more, I think, about some of the research that we've done to get to this place, but we believe that powering the project economy is the way that our stakeholders, our project managers, our project workers are going to help organizations be successful in society in the future.
Excellent segue, because the next question on my list is, survey says, I attended a presentation that you gave.
Mm-hmm.
It's a blur. Was it yesterday? Was it 2 days ago? I don't remember. One day is melding into the next. So I attended your presentation, and in that you talked about the many surveys you did and the feedback you got from the membership and stakeholders. Who did you reach out to?
One of the core features of PMI, and I've been at PMI for 12 years, so I have a lot of experience interacting with our stakeholders. And one of the things that we know about our stakeholder base is they're incredibly passionate about the community that they've developed, the family that they feel that is PMI. And so what we know is that stakeholder management was one of probably the most important feature of working through this change management project that we just completed. And so we reached out to many thousands of our stakeholders. I wish we would have been able to reach out to all 3 million. It probably wouldn't have been very practical. So we reached out to several thousand in various different ways. We did traditional kind of surveys that were online. We did focus groups. We did workshops. We brought people together in online forums to get feedback on everything from what they loved about PMI today to what they didn't like about PMI today, what they wanted PMI to look like tomorrow, what kinds of things PMI should be doing for tomorrow to help represent them better, what food they thought best represented PMI, what colors. And we took all of that feedback and then paired it with the research that we do, the more formal research on what's happening in the world. And we looked at, our Pulse of the Profession studies and our Thought Leadership Series studies. And we mixed all that together and watched what bubbled up. And what bubbled up was what you're seeing in the new brand. So the words that became most meaningful out of hundreds of words that we heard from PMI stakeholders were bright, fearless, and nurturing. And so those are the words and the colors and the feeling that we hope that our stakeholders are going to get from this new brand as they learn more about what powering the project economy means.
Mm. And one of the feedbacks that you received is, this is my family, this is my tribe, don't change that.
Exactly.
How has that influenced the new brand position?
Well, I think what your listeners will see when they come to PMI.org or they attend a PMI event is what I mentioned earlier, this fearless, this bright, this nurturing is being expressed in the use of stakeholders in all of our materials. So, Cornelius, you've been walking around the last couple of days at the convention center, and you can see that the imagery reflects the broad range of individuals in our community to try to get that family feel across in the new position.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can definitely see myself in the images, but I can also see the younger and everybody is included there. Yeah. One thing that you said, and we'll get to that in just a bit, is brand is not something you iterate on. And when I heard the word iterate, I thought about, I wonder how this project was actually managed. Was this managed agile? Was this managed traditional? We're talking to project managers here, and they're kind of going, so yeah, how did they do it? What was the project management approach that you chose?
Well, I would describe our project management approach as hybrid with a leaning toward more agile. So we had a program manager on our team who's also a Scrum Master. So it was great to have both of those perspectives as we worked through this project, because as you can imagine, some of it really needed to be sequential and well planned and well thought out, knowing the end in advance, right? And some of it really needed to be, and I did say brand isn't something you iterate on, and I'll get to that in a minute, but within that specific activities that we did to get to where we are today, we did a lot of iteration. Mm-hmm. We went back to our stakeholders, we got their feedback, we came back in, we made changes based on what they told us, and so we did do a fair amount of iteration at the front end.
Mm-hmm. And just to be safe, this is not just, here's the logo.
Correct.
Tell us what the logo, do you like the logo? This is broader. This is the fearless, the bright, and the
nurturing.
whole position.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really good point, Cornelius. One of the things that we never asked people was, do you like it? Because everyone likes something different. Some people don't like tangerine color. Some people don't like aqua. Some people don't like violet. What we wanted to know was, does this represent the future of project management to you? Does this represent who PMI should be to represent you best as we move forward into our next 50 years? So that's the kind of feedback that we got, and that was most valuable as we were trying to determine what the final brand that we launched 2 days ago looked like. So now that we have come to that place, after having gathered all of that feedback and done the iteration up front, we've launched this new position, this new personality, this new identity, right? And now is not the time for iteration. So that's what I was referring to when I said brand isn't something that you iterate on.
And just to give you my kudos, I arrived here on Thursday and walked into the hallways, and there was the old logo and everything was the old brand. Next morning, not even, 15 hours later, everything was changed. Absolutely. The whole convention center was different, and the new brand, the new logo was up, and new colors, and it was fun to watch from the perspective of somebody who knows, how much work actually goes into this. So congratulations to you and your team for pulling this off.
Yeah, the team, it's a really fantastic team, and kudos to the project manager, to the program manager. We have a BA working with us as well, and the entire team, because it's a testament to the fact that it works, right? The plan worked.
Yeah. So many questions at the presentation you gave were still about the visuals. Really, nobody asked about anything else, right? The position or the nothing. It was all about, why is the logo like this, and what do these icons mean, and all. Why do you think this is?
I've done 2 other brand refreshes in my career, so I've been really fortunate to be able to see this over time. And I think what happens is the visual identity for an organization is the thing that people relate to. It's the thing that's obviously they call it a visual identity, right? It's the most visual thing that people see that represents to them who the organization is. It's going to take a little bit of time for our stakeholders to dig into what powering the project economy means, how we're going to be strengthening society, how we'll enable organizations, how we'll empower people to turn ideas into reality. All of that's a little bit meatier, and it'll take some time for us to continue to talk about that with our stakeholders and have them help them internalize the actual brand position and personality so that the visuals actually mean more than just colors or fonts or, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just natural. People gravitate toward the visual and react to that because it's just there. It's easier.
Yeah, you can see it. Everything else is more behind the scenes, and you have to get used to it first.
And we want them to feel it, and that's where I think we'll get to in a month or so.
Okay. During the presentation, it was to leaders of PMI chapters who were here and how they can take the new visual brand and apply it to their chapter. Of course, many of the questions were, well, I just printed our business cards. Couldn't you have told us earlier? Many of our listeners here, they're also from PMI chapters around the world, and they may be asking themselves the same question. What kind of resources are available for chapters? Who do they contact in order to get more information about how to apply the new PMI visual to their local brand?
Sure. The chapter partners are all very well versed in what it will take to help chapters. We had about 26 chapters who served as early adopters as part of this brand refresh process. So one of them was the Delaware Valley chapter. That's our host chapter here today, based right here in Philadelphia. And so what they did was they had early access to the visual identity materials. They turned over their website using some of the website providers, and they turned over their booth as well from Thursday to Friday. So it can be done. There are resources within PMI through the chapter partner, and if somebody has just invested, we know it's going to take time. We know it's going to take time to make this change. So we're not asking anybody to waste the investment that they made. It's not wrong. What they had yesterday is not wrong. It's still PMI. We're still PMI, and they should just use what they have until it makes sense for them to make the change.
All right. Yesterday, suddenly somebody came up to me and said, would you mind? We would like to interview you. And they had this camera, and there was a whole crew, and they asked me a number of questions about PMI and whether I think this is the right way forward and all that. But before we started, I was, getting ready and buttoning up my jacket. And he's like, no, don't button up your jacket. Leave it open, the new brand. So clothing is also part of the new brand.
Well, it's interesting that you ask that, because those who have been with PMI for quite some time have noticed that we do tend to be pretty formal, right?
Yes,
We wear suits and ties and are very formal. We've been told by our stakeholders and through this brand refresh process that what that looks like to some is that we're not so approachable. And what they asked for was, as we move toward this new brand, that we become just a bit more approachable. And so you might have seen on Friday when we launched Saturday when we launched the new brand, that our board of directors all showed up in
sweatshirts.
Some of them in sweatshirts, right? Some of them in t-shirts and jackets. And wow, I'll tell you, it was a huge difference in the conversations people were having, and just asking, gee, why do you what happened? Why do you look like that today, and you look like something else the day before? So I think it's been really great to just prompt conversations, in particular with that younger generation that we're all looking to attract to the field and to the profession.
I forgot my tie at home, and
well,
I was like,
good shape
"Oh
then.
my God, I forgot my tie!" Because there are a couple of events that I attended that traditionally were tie events, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, "I don't need the tie; it's fine."
That's right.
Yeah. During this brand refresh, what was the hardest thing for you and your team to do?
Well, I think it might sound trite, but I think people will relate to it, is change is hard.
Yeah.
And when an organization has been around for as long as PMI, and we've had the current identity and the current brand position for about 25 years. And so people are really invested in that. So I would say the change management, and it's ongoing and it's going to take some time. I would say the change management and the stakeholder management have been the most fun, but also the most difficult. And part of it is that family we were talking about before, is people really feel connected to PMI and to the friends that they've made, and they think of each other as family. And so when there's change to that, it feels like it might be threatening. We hope that this new position, this new brand, this new personality is broad enough to really encompass everyone. We absolutely want to bring our current tribe along with us. We couldn't be where we are today without that group of people. They are dedicated and we love them. We want them to come with us. We also want to be approachable and have this new next generation of project managers join us as well, so that we can get the benefit of everybody's perspectives.
This is your third brand refresh, you said earlier on.
In my career.
Yes, in your career. And what was the most unusual or surprising thing that you had during this brand refresh compared to the previous two?
Well, the last brand refresh that I did was before the iPhone, before social media. So I think I would say that the most surprising and exciting and interesting thing with this one has been our ability to get immediate feedback from people and to see what questions they had. And interestingly, I'm hoping that your podcast is really going to help answer the most common question is, PMI made a dramatic change. Why did they do it?
Yeah.
Right. And so, and that's a hard thing to communicate in one go. So again, back to our original question about why do people gravitate to the logo? Because that's what they see. Now, talking to you and being able to interact with some of these folks on social media, we'll be able to tell that story much more fully and much, much quicker.
I started out by saying that, if you haven't seen the new logo yet, go to pmi.org, and so people can take a look at the visual. But in closing, once they have seen the logo, where do they go to understand the full impact of the brand and learn about it and get to know the new PMI?
That's a great question. And we have on PMI.org, we have an entire page that's dedicated to the project economy. So people who go there will be able to see the visuals. They'll also be able to read some material that's been published on the project economy. And they'll be able to see the 50 most influential projects, which is being introduced today, and all sorts of things about why we've come to where we are today. They'll be able to learn about your listeners who will have seen the new identity will see that there are 9 symbols that we use to represent different attributes and features of that people might need to be successful in the project economy. They'll be able to look at the website and find out the meanings behind those, why they were chosen, and that kind of thing as well. So there's lots of detail, there's lots of information, and we hope people will really go and understand why we've come to where we are today and join us on our journey to the future.
All right, and just for those who want to know more about those 9 symbols, they are collaboration, determination, change, innovation, teamwork, outcomes, growth, vision, and community. That's the new PMI. Cindy, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure, Cornelius. Thanks for having me.